Hey guys, what's up? This is Kenzo for Life here, and today we're going to be looking at my boy Frost. I have four formers on this Frost, and he is extremely tanky. I use him in an offensive and also defensive manner, but I'm going to show you some gameplay to show just that. But I'd like to thank Ebon Flux, One Xbox One Legend, and Pestilence for their help in this video. So thanks guys, I really appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without you guys. So without further ado, let's get to looking at this beautiful Frost. Alright guys, so this is the gameplay we're going to be taking a look at today of my boy Frost. Now Frost is one of my favorite Warframes. He's extremely tanky, and I use him in offensive as well as a defensive manner, but I'm going to show you how you can actually achieve and do that. My friend Yvonne there, he is using, I'm not sure how many formulas he has on that Toncore, but it's definitely a good Toncore. Be careful with using the Toncore, ladies and gentlemen, because you can have friendly fire on that thing, so just be aware once you start using it. So with that all being said, as you can see, I'm not standing around. I'm not just looking at my enemies. I'm not waiting for my opponents to come and attack me. I'm in the fight. I'm definitely taking the fight to them as they're taking the fight to me. Very shortly, the Arbiters of Hexus are going to be trying to take me out. I'd like to see Gargamel even attempt to do such a feat with all my homies up in here. So as you can see, I'm near the pod. I'm making sure that there's no enemies near there. I'm definitely making sure that there's nobody there to attack them. I'm actually using the Tigress Prime to achieve this goal. In a few seconds here, we're seeing the Arbiters. They're going to be, they hate my guts right now because, I didn't give them some chicken last week or something. They're really mad at me and pissed at me right now. So let's talk about, I hear them coming. They're coming to get me. How can you see my lack of honor when you have no eyeballs? I'm just saying. Alright, Gargamel, let's dance. So, as you can see, I just used my avalanche. I basically just cleared that out. They're not really doing any damage to me at this point because my snow globe has about 15 or 14, almost 15,000 health, so that it's really not going to affect me at this point. So I basically cleared that out. I'm using the Axolotl Primes. They're probably the best sidearm in the game right now. The Axolotl Primes are extremely good with clearing things out. I have a crit build on my Axolotl Primes, which I will show at the end of the video. I'll show you the build, how I built this Frost, and also how I built the Tigress Prime, the Axolotl Prime, and Telos Boltaces. Now, I was very upset about the nerf of the Telos Boltaces, but there's always a way around. You still get the damage output. There's always a way around it. So I'll still be getting damage output that I'm kind of looking for with the Telos Boltaces. But I'll show you that in a minute. So as you can see, I'm just not standing around, which is a lot of people's thing on the community about the Frost. He's a one-trick pony. He can only be good for defenses and intercepts and things of that sort. But I wanted to come to this survival to show that Frost can also hold his own in a survival setting. So that's why I basically picked Mott to do that, to do just that. So the Sentinel, if any of you are wondering, the Sentinel that I'm using is the Taxon. It's the new Sentinel that was put out on update 19, I believe. This Sentinel basically shoots a beam of ice, and it will slow down and freeze your enemies as they're coming to attack you. So it's really good with a Frost because of his passive ability, where if he is touched or hit, the enemy will be frozen for a 4 or 5 second duration. So it's really good if you have this Sentinel. So
The raid is off to a successful start.
and so as you can see, there's not a whole lot. I'm not standing around. So I'm going to talk about formas and when you forma, as well as catalysts and reactors. You definitely need those things in order to upgrade your mod capacity. That is critical to the Warframes doing exactly what you want them to do, and exactly the kind of power that you can get out of them. Oh, here comes Vor.
Come to scavenge and desecrate this sacred realm.
Oh, Vor, you.
Life support incoming.
Oh, Vor, we have to kill you yet again.
Keys, but they are mere trespassers. Only I, War, know the true power of the void.
Vor is he thinks he's the guardian of the void when that's not even really the case. For any of you who have Google or Google Plus or YouTube, you can definitely go on YouTube and look at some of the videos about the lore of Warframe. There is an actual lore. The story is very interesting about how this all came to pass, about the Lotus and how she is basically the person who saved them from annihilation, from the Oricans and the Cephalons, and how Ordis, how he betrayed the Tenno due to the Oricans' involvement. So there's definitely a really good backstory. There's a lot of lore as far as the story about the Tenno and how this whole situation came to be, how they were encapsulated and then freed by Lotus to eradicate the Corpus and the Grineer and ultimately the Infested, because the Grineer, if you played the second Dream Quest and then the War Within, those two missions kind of talk about the storyline as opposed to what happened with Lotus, the Oricans, and the Cephalon. So definitely, if you have those two quests, definitely give those a whirl so that you can, see some of the lore and some of the backstory as opposed to what happens into the Tenno. So with that being said, let's move on to formas and Orc Catalyst. Now, when do you forma? When do you forma? You forma ideally when you know what your mod setup is going to be. If you have the right mod setup and the right capacity as far as the Orc Reactor and the Catalyst, that is when you want to forma. Not necessarily when you get to level 30, but more so when you know what your mod setup is going to be and also what your capacity is going to be, because once you change those polarities, you definitely want to know what your setup is before you do so, because you don't want to waste time and or effort doing your formas and you're not getting the results that you want because of the setup and also the capacity. So you definitely want to know what your setup is before you go ahead and forma, but you definitely want to Orc Catalyst every single thing, Orc Reactor every single Warframe. You definitely want to do those things prior to, because it gives you the maximum potential of the Warframes and how you use them and how you maneuver them and the kind of devastation they will cause as well as arcanes.
Another life support capsule.
You get the arcanes from the Jordan's Precept and the Law of Retribution quest. So you definitely want to pick up the arcanes, and you definitely want to do your Orcan Catalysts and your Orcan Reactors, and definitely Forma. It is critical. It's crucial to how your Warframe is going to react. So let's get to the build. That damn Tonkor. Hit me again.
They could not do this without you.
Welcome back, guys. So we're going to show you the build. I'm going to show you the build right now. This is a survivability build. It's built on his powers, not necessarily his power. So that's what this build is basically built on. So I have Rejuvenation. You can actually swap that out for Energy Siphon if you do have it. If you have Rejuvenation, not Energy Siphon, you could definitely swap those two out. It definitely will help with Frost's survivability aspect. Cutting Drift is another one. You can actually swap that out also for Power Drift if you're trying to build a power build. But again, it depends on what you want your Frost to do. As you can see, I have 4 Formas on my Frost, and the reason why I have 4 Formas on my Frost is because I'm trying to build on his power, not necessarily his powers. So that's why I have Cutting Drift as opposed to Power Drift, but to each his own. So as you can see, I have Prime Flow, Fleeting Expertise, Blind Rage, Armored Agility, Intensify, Stretch, Transient Fortitude, and Vitality. I don't necessarily need Armored Agility there. I just have that there because, Frost is a tank, and he definitely runs and moves like a tank. Like he's too bothered. He's too busy. I'm too busy to run. I'm too busy to, sprint around. So I need to, stand here. So, but that's why I use him offensively, and that's how I'm able to use him offensively because of that movement speed is a little bit faster. I'm able to be in the fights faster and be able to, pull back if I need to pull back a little bit faster. So if you see on the side, the numbers here, so the 3 augment mods that you definitely want to have for Frost, you get them from Steel Meridian, I believe. It's Icy Avalanche, Chilling Globe, and Ice Wave Impedance. Ice Wave Impedance and Chilling Globe are definitely two very good pickups, as well as Icy Avalanche. Icy Avalanche is extremely good augment mod that was brought out, I think, update 19, I believe, to accentuate that avalanche. As you see on the numbers, my avalanche almost does 4,000 damage, but that's just separate from my ice wave and my snow globe. So that's definitely, Icy Avalanche is definitely a good pickup. It basically shields your allies with a sheet of ice for a reduction of 60 damage while they're in while they're in this ice sheet of ice. So that's really, really good. If you're in a firefight and there's a lot of enemies and you cast that avalanche, your allies will be protected from 60 points of damage. So that's really, really good in a firefight or a close, sticky situation. So that's why, again, I have Armored Agility for the sprint speed, because he needs to move around a little bit more faster. That's why I'm able to use him in an offensive manner as well. So, but again, it's to each his own. If you wanted to take Armored Agility out and swap it in for an augment, Ice Wave Impedance, Chilling Globe, or Icy Avalanche, you definitely are able to do that. Also add a Power Drift to that, and you will see that your numbers will be exponentially better. I just use this particular build for just Frost. I don't use it for his powers. I use it for him as survivability and his power. So, but you can definitely swap out this is how I'm able to run around and be in your face and able to survive just that much longer, with this particular setup. So let's talk about formas and when you actually forma. So you actually need to forma when you know what your setup is. When you know what your setup is and you're sure about it, that's when you forma. Not necessarily when you get to rank 30. When you get to rank 30, that's just the beginning points. You want to forma when you know what your setup is, when you know what you want your Warframes to do. Because formas will help you achieve that. It actually changes the polarity so that you can have more capacity. And then with an Oracle reactor, you'll be able to have a better synopsis of what you need to do as far as mod setup and modding. So also definitely you want to have your mods max rank. The reason why I don't have Translated Fortitude max rank is because of the hit that you take with duration, but that's why I have Blind Rage there to kind of compensate for that. So you definitely want to, for our newer players, welcome to the 10-0, but for our newer players, you definitely want to work in Catalyst, work in Reactor, and forma. It is extremely important that those things, that you need to do those things, because it'll be the difference between you being somebody who gets frustrated as to why your Warframes aren't doing what you want them to, as opposed to and also with Arcanes, you'll be extremely frustrated with what you want your Warframes to do, and they're not doing it, and you're thinking to yourself, well, what do I need to do? What else? Forma. It is really that simple. It's a really easy equation. Oracle Catalyst, Oracle Reactor, and forma. And also test. Every time you do any builds, you definitely want to test it. You want to test it and see if it works for your play style. If it doesn't work for your play style, then you can adjust it. You can adjust it how you see fit, but you definitely want to test it. I can't say that enough. I tell my members, test all your builds and make sure that they are at the place where you want them to be. Okay. So as you can see, Icy Avalanche, you can see on your screen there, Icy Avalanche is a really good augment mod for Frost. For those of you who say, well, Frost is just a trick frame, he's really tanky and he does all this stuff, and it's like a cheat. It's cheating, not necessarily, because Frost can be defensive, but like I said earlier, he could also be offensive. You don't have to just take him to a defense or intercept or a sabotage. You can take Frost to a survival, and he'll definitely survive just as long as as any other frame. So here we have my Tigress Prime build. My Tigress Prime build, as you can see, Vicious Spread, Point Blank, and Hell's Chamber. Those are must-haves on your Tigress Prime, and also Seeking Fury because of the punch through. So you definitely want to have those four definitely before you forma your Tigress Prime. This Tigress Prime has no formas on it because it doesn't need it because of those four mods. So you definitely want to have those mods, Shell Shock and Blaze. You definitely want Blaze. Blaze is an event mod. Prime Point Blank you get from Barrow when he comes. Vicious Spread, Seeking Fury, and Hell's Chamber. Those are all event mods. You can also get those mods from the Derelict. If you have the keys to open the vault, you'll be able to get yourself those three mods. But Blaze is an event mod, and Prime Point Blank comes from Barrow Katir. So you definitely want to, as you can see the numbers on the side there, my Tigress, is a one-shot kill. So you definitely want to get those four mods. Definitely want to get those for. So next up, we're going to be talking about the Axolotl Prime. The Axolotl Prime, as you can see, that is my setup: Lethal Torrent, Pistol Pestilence, Scorch, Prime Target Cracker, and Prime Pistol Gambit. I have a crit Axolotl Prime build, so these are the mods that I used to make a crit Axolotl Prime build. It's pretty straightforward. You know, use at will. Use at will, ladies and gentlemen. Use at will. Hey guys, welcome back. So this is the Telos Boltes build. I'd like to share my Telos Boltes build because the Telos Boltes was recently nerfed with update 19, I believe, which does suck, but fear not, weary travelers. There is a way that you can actually make the Telos Boltes to still be the end-game melee weapon for Warframe. So as you can see, I'm using the Gemini Cross. The Gemini Cross combo is what I personally prefer. I like the combos that you get for the Gemini Cross, so that's why I actually use that stance. I have Berserker, Fever Strike, Virulent Scourge, Pressure Point that you do get from Barrow when he comes and brings it. Voltaic Strike, Prime Reach, Organ Shatterer, and Spoil Strike. Now I will swap out for Sweeping Serration, but I have to test it in order to know if that's going to be something that I like, or Life Strike. I don't really use Life Strike because it does drain your energy pretty quickly, but I like the fact that you can rejuvenate your energy rejuvenate your health, by using Life Strike. But because I have rejuvenation on Frost already, I kind of don't need that kind of dual threat. I'm going to have health regardless of if I use Life Strike on my teleportations or not. So this is the Taxon. The Taxon Sentinel is a really good Sentinel. I personally like it because of the Ice Beam, and I do kind of pair that with the Avalanche as well as the Freeze. I like how when you shoot the enemy, it's exploding. It looks like snow coming across the screen. So I really like that. So definitely pick up the Taxon from your dojo if you have it researched. Thanks, guys. Give me a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Girls That Game. If you are on Xbox One, hit me up, Kenzo for life. And I'll see you on the next video. Auf Wiedersehen.